My name is Myra Whitmore. I'm 35. This morning, December 14th, at 7:03 a.m., I received an eviction notice taped to the frosted glass door of my Aunt Eleanor's fitness studio. Rowan Wade, my aunt's affair partner, stood smirking on the sidewalk, holding a steaming cup of coffee. He said the property, including all $310,000 worth of equipment and the entire membership base, was now legally his, thanks to a little paperwork mix-up I'd caused. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might be sick right there on the frozen concrete, the breath fogging from my mouth like a visible gasp of despair. Meanwhile, early morning joggers, oblivious, continued their routines, their footsteps crunching rhythmically on the icy pavement, a stark contrast to the sudden, shattering silence of my world. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. Let me take you back 25 years to a warm, sun-drenched Saturday afternoon. I was 10, and Aunt Eleanor had just baked her famous lemon poppy seed cake, the scent of citrus and vanilla filling every corner of her little bungalow on Willow Creek Lane. She'd always called it our special recipe. We were sitting on the porch swing, the wood creaking softly under our combined weight, watching fireflies begin to blink in the twilight. She put her arm around me, squeezing gently. "Myra," she'd said, her voice soft but firm, "my brightest star, you were always meant to shine. Don't ever let anyone dim your light, no matter how much they try." I remember the warmth of her hand on my shoulder, the way her jasmine perfume mingled with the cake's sweetness, a memory so vivid I could almost taste it. We'd planned so much for that studio, the one she'd built from the ground up, the one she wanted me to eventually take over. She'd spent countless hours showing me the ropes, the business plans, the importance of every client. It wasn't just a business to her, it was a community, a place of empowerment. She believed in me, truly believed I had the vision and the drive to carry on her legacy. That promise, that simple declaration, had become a quiet anchor in my life, a constant reminder of her unwavering faith. I never imagined that someone would try so hard to break it. The thought of that studio, a monument to her dreams, being taken from me, felt like a physical blow. The porch swing had swayed in the gentle breeze, mirroring the comfortable rhythm of our lives then, a rhythm I was naive enough to believe would last forever. Her words had been a compass, guiding me through doubt, urging me to push harder, to strive for the glow she saw in me. Now the weight of those words felt like a heavy burden, a stark reminder of what I was losing. Rowan Wade, who I'd only ever known as my aunt's friend, a description that turned out to be a cruel understatement, was already moving in. 3 days after Eleanor's funeral, as I was still trying to grasp a world without her, Rowan accused me of mishandling a $5,000 payment for the studio's new spin bikes, claiming I'd diverted the funds on November 1st, just weeks before Eleanor passed. "You were always so careless, Myra," he'd sneered, his eyes cold and calculating across Eleanor's polished mahogany dining table. "Some people just aren't cut out for it, Myra." My face burned so hot I could feel my pulse throbbing in my teeth. My hands shook so badly I had to clench them under the table. I tried to explain that all studio payments went directly to the supplier, that I had no access to the capital account. But Eleanor's grief-stricken sister, Aunt Carol, sat silently, her gaze fixed on Rowan, seeming to absorb his words as truth. She never met my eye. Never met my... The accusation, baseless as it was, hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. The consequences cascaded quickly. The rumor that I was irresponsible with Eleanor's finances spread through the small town of Everglyn like wildfire. I heard it first from Mrs. Albright, a longtime studio member, who delicately suggested I take some time off when I saw her at the grocery store on Pine Street. Then, my cousin Brenda canceled our weekly coffee, saying she was too busy, but her voice was tight, avoiding specifics. My bank account, once healthy from years of diligent saving for the studio's expansion, dwindled to a terrifying $832.17. The eviction notice wasn't just for the studio. It felt like an eviction from my entire life. Rowan had moved into Aunt Eleanor's house, her house, within a week of the funeral, waving a hastily prepared document claiming he was her designated caregiver and now executor. I showed up at the house one afternoon, hoping to retrieve some photo albums, and he blocked the doorway, a patronizing smile on his face. "Didn't you hear, Myra? This is my home now. Some people just aren't cut out for managing things, especially not her precious studio." He called me just the help, implying I was nothing more than an employee, unworthy of her trust. That phrase, just the help, echoed in my mind, each syllable a fresh wound. After losing everything, I found myself scrubbing matted fur and clipping the claws of unruly poodles. Being a dog groomer at Paws and Polish on Cedar Avenue wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills barely. My hands, once accustomed to adjusting spin bike seats and wiping down yoga mats, now spent hours coaxing nervous schnauzers into bubbly baths. My new boss, a kind woman named Martha, with silver hair and a perpetually warm smile, became my unexpected anchor. "You've got a gentle touch, Myra," she'd say, watching me patiently untangle a particularly stubborn knot. Each day was a relentless rhythm of barking, bathing, and brushing. There was the persistent whine of the dryers, the sharp scent of medicated shampoo, the occasional nip from an uncooperative terrier. Rowan, however, seemed determined to ensure I found no peace. He'd call the shop phone, asking Martha if she'd hired Myra, the studio embezzler. Martha, bless her, always simply said, "We don't discuss our employees' personal lives, Mr. Wade." He even had the audacity to show up outside the salon twice, once in his newly acquired luxury car, Aunt Eleanor's old sedan, upgraded, just to watch me through the window, a smug expression on his face. Each time he'd mouth, "Some people just aren't cut out for it, Myra," a silent, venomous mantra. Then came the public humiliation, a scene etched in my memory like a scar. It was a bustling Saturday afternoon, 1:47 p.m. The main grooming floor at Paws and Polish was packed with excited dogs and their owners. I was meticulously trimming the top knot of a fluffy Bichon Frise named Snowball, its owner, Mrs. Higgins, beaming beside me. Suddenly the glass door swung open, and Rowan strode in, his expensive suit jarringly out of place amidst the happy chaos. He stopped directly in front of my station, a sneer twisting his lips. "Well, well, if it isn't Myra Whitmore," he announced, his voice carrying clearly over the whirs of clippers and the gentle murmurs of conversation. He paused for dramatic effect, letting every head turn. "Still playing just the help, I see. How's the $310,000 fitness studio doing, Myra?" "Oh, right, you lost it. Too complicated for some, I suppose. Some people just aren't cut out for it, Myra, especially running a proper business, unlike bathing other people's pampered pets." He gestured dismissively at Snowball. Mrs. Higgins's smile faltered, replaced by a look of bewildered discomfort. Two other clients waiting with their Shih Tzus exchanged uneasy glances. Martha, from behind the reception desk, stiffened, her eyes narrowed. The air in the usually cheerful salon grew heavy with unspoken tension. I felt a familiar flush creep up my neck, but this time, something was different. Something hardened inside me, a core of cold resolve forming where raw hurt used to reside. I looked Rowan directly in the eye, my hands steady as I continued to trim Snowball's fur with precise, calm movements. I didn't say a word, didn't react, just kept working. The silence, punctuated only by the snipping of my scissors, became deafening. Rowan, deprived of the emotional explosion he craved, eventually huffed, clearly disappointed, and stomped out, leaving an awkward hush in his wake. Mrs. Higgins cleared her throat. "He seemed unpleasant, Myra, but your work is impeccable." That quiet observation from a stranger felt like a small, vital victory. A week later, while cleaning out an old cedar chest Martha had given me for storing grooming supplies, It used to belong to her grandmother. I found it. Tucked beneath a stack of faded linen towels, in a small water-stained leather box, was a delicate silver locket. It was Aunt Eleanor's. I remembered her wearing it constantly. But it wasn't the locket itself that caught my attention. Inside, carefully folded and slightly brittle with age, was a tiny, handwritten note. Myra, if you ever find this, know I was thinking of you. Check the old ledger. R. W. Lies. E. The initials, R. W., could only mean Rowan Wade. The old ledger? Eleanor kept meticulous handwritten ledgers for every aspect of her life, not just the studio, tucked away in her study. I knew Rowan had cleaned out her study, but what if he missed one? A flicker of hope, fragile but persistent, ignited within me. He had been hiding information for years, not just since her death. My hands, which had been steady trimming dogs, now trembled as I held the locket. My uneasy truce with the world ended a few days later when a registered letter arrived. It was from Rowan's attorney, a sleek, impersonal document offering me a settlement for my disputed claim to the fitness studio. The terms were laughable, a paltry $5,000 in exchange for signing away any and all future rights to the studio, to Eleanor's estate, and to never speak of Rowan Wade again. The letter stated, in no uncertain terms, that if I didn't accept within 3 days, he would initiate legal action to recoup damages incurred by your interference and make sure I couldn't even work in Everglyn again. It was a veiled threat, a stark revelation of his true intent. Not just the studio, but my complete eradication. He was going to sell the studio property and the attached parcel of land Eleanor had owned for years to a big chain developer. His plan was bigger, more ruthless than I'd imagined. The email I found, accidentally left open on an old laptop Aunt Eleanor had given me, confirmed it. Close the Everglyn deal by March 1st, it read. Before Myra Whitmore becomes a problem. She's just the help, she won't put up a fight. But the longer she's around, the more chance she finds something. He signed it. R.W. He was using a false deadline to pressure me into signing away my birthright, the very thing Aunt Eleanor had intended for me. The choice was clear: fight or lose everything forever. The unexpected opportunity arrived, disguised as a polite, official-looking letter from the firm of Sterling and Associates, attorneys at law. It requested my presence for a final review of Ms. Eleanor Whitmore's last wishes. Rowan, true to form, had intercepted several identical letters addressed to me. Martha, however, whose sister worked at the post office on Elm Street, had managed to discreetly retrieve this one. She handed it to me with a knowing look. Seems like someone's trying to keep you from important mail, Myra. The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday, January 9th, at 10 a.m. at their offices on Northwest 23rd Avenue. A knot of anxiety tightened in my stomach. Rowan would be furious if he knew. He'd probably try something else, some new lie, some fresh obstruction. But for the first time in months, I felt a surge of defiant courage. I was going, threats or no threats. This wasn't just about me anymore. This was for Eleanor, for her memory, and for that little girl she called her brightest star. The office of Sterling and Associates was hushed, refined, and smelled faintly of old leather and new money. Mr. Harrison Sterling, a man with shrewd but kind eyes and a neatly trimmed silver beard, sat across from me. He didn't offer platitudes. Instead, he looked at me with an understanding that felt like a balm. Your Aunt Eleanor, he began, his voice calm, was a remarkable woman. She asked me to wait for the right time, Myra. She knew Rowan Wade was a difficult individual. She knew he would try to take advantage. He then slid a heavy engraved safe deposit box key across the polished desk. This belongs to you. She foresaw much of this. He explained that Eleanor had been planning for this contingency for years, ever since Rowan first started subtly pressuring her about her assets. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from a profound, overwhelming shock. Eleanor had known. She hadn't left me unprotected. I felt a rush of emotion, tears stinging my eyes, but I swallowed them back, too stunned to fully process the magnitude of her foresight. Mr. Sterling nodded, as if reading my thoughts. Go somewhere private, Myra. Read what she left you. I drove straight to Eleanor's old bungalow, the one Rowan now occupied, but parked a block away, unable to bring myself to enter. Instead, I went to a quiet, forgotten corner of Willow Creek Park, near the ancient oak where Eleanor and I used to have picnics. The winter sun was pale, but it cast long shadows on the dormant grass. My fingers fumbled with the key, finally opening the small, heavy safe deposit box. Inside, nestled amongst tissue paper, was a thick envelope, addressed to me in Eleanor's familiar, elegant script. I pulled out the letter, my heart pounding in my chest, and began to read. Dear Myra, if you're reading this, then I'm gone, and Rowan is already doing what I knew he would do. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this while I was alive, my brightest star. I tried, but Rowan doesn't hear reason. He only hears documents and the rustle of money. I knew he would try to pressure you with some fabricated crisis to take the studio, claiming it was for your own good or the studio's. Do you remember our Saturdays on the porch swing? I told you. My brightest star, you were always meant to shine. I meant it then, and I mean it now. Your light will not be dimmed by his greed. The original trust and the deed for the studio, including the adjacent land parcel at 14 Hawthorne Street, are with my attorney, Mr. Harrison Sterling. His office is at 2200 Northwest 23rd Avenue. The copies I've left you here are incomplete. Not enough to prove anything on their own, but enough for you to know I'm telling the truth about what's coming. Inside this box, you'll find legal proof of your sole ownership of the fitness studio and the land parcel, transferred to you 8 years ago. Bank statements from the Everglade Community Wellness Fund showing Rowan's unauthorized transfers totaling $47,000 over the last 2 years. Witness statements I collected from former employees confirming Rowan's coercion attempts. An original signed letter from Rowan himself, admitting he created the fake urgency regarding the studio's permits to force my hand, dated March 14th, 2 years ago. Don't show this to anyone yet, not Aunt Carol, not even Martha. Wait until the right time. Mr. Sterling will know what to do, and he will tell you when. You are not just the help, Myra. You are my legacy. You are strength, always have been. All my love, your Aunt Eleanor. I read it twice, then a third time, each word sinking deeper into my bones. The crisp winter air felt suddenly warmer, or perhaps it was just the fire now burning within me. My hands, once trembling with anxiety, now held the papers with a fierce, quiet certainty. I saw the dates, the signatures, the indisputable figures. $47,000. 8 years of planning. The scale of Eleanor's foresight, her quiet strength, brought fresh tears to my eyes, but these were tears of gratitude and awe, not despair. She had known. She had protected me, even from beyond the grave. The bitter taste of betrayal began to recede, replaced by a steely resolve. This wasn't about revenge. This was about truth. Her truth, and mine. The Everglade Senior Center bingo hall was packed on a brisk Tuesday afternoon, January 23rd, 2:15 p.m. The air hummed with the cheerful chatter of elderly patrons, the rhythmic clack of bingo balls in the cage, and the scent of lukewarm coffee. 38 seniors, mostly women, sat at tables arranged in neat rows, their daubers poised. Rowan Wade, ever the opportunist, was at the front, holding court near the caller's podium. He had positioned himself as a community benefactor, having recently donated some of Eleanor's old fitness equipment to the center. Equipment he'd tried to sell for a profit before the market shifted. He was laughing, regaling a small group with a story about Eleanor's naivety and how he had stepped in to save her failing studio from my incompetence. Some people just aren't cut out for it, he declared, louder than necessary, his gaze flicking towards the entrance where I now stood, Mr. Sterling by my side. Rowan's eyes widened slightly when he saw us, a flicker of annoyance, quickly masked by his usual smug confidence. He puffed out his chest, stepping forward. "Well, Myra," he announced, his voice oozing false concern, "still clinging to that fantasy, are we? I've been telling everyone how I tried to help you, to get you to sign the studio over before it went bankrupt. You just wouldn't listen. It's a shame. But some people just aren't cut out for managing something like that, are they?" A few seniors murmured sympathetically. I remained calm. I met his gaze, then scanned the room, making eye contact with a few familiar faces. Mrs. Albright, Aunt Carol, even Martha, who was sitting near the back, having volunteered to help with refreshments. Mr. Sterling stepped forward, his presence commanding immediate attention. "Excuse me, Mr. Wade," he said, his voice quiet but firm. "We are here today to clarify a few matters regarding Miss Eleanor Whitmore's estate and her fitness studio at 14 Hawthorne Street." Rowan scoffed. "There's nothing to clarify. The studio is mine legally. Myra signed it all away months ago under a pressing deadline. Her incompetence nearly ruined it." Mr. Sterling simply opened his briefcase. "Actually, Mr. Wade, Miss Myra Whitmore did not sign away anything that was rightfully hers, and she was certainly not incompetent. On the contrary, Miss Whitmore is a diligent, organized individual, a trait reflected in her current work. For instance, on the very day you claimed an urgent signing was required, November 1st, Ms. Whitmore's meticulous dog grooming logs show she had a fully booked schedule, with appointments from 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m., including a complex full groom for a standard poodle named Hercules that required her undivided attention for over 3 hours. Her records, complete with before and after photos and client signatures, are impeccable, proving she was entirely occupied and could not have participated in any legitimate urgent signing without prior notice." He paused, letting that sink in. Then he held up Eleanor's letter, folded but clearly visible. "This is a letter from Eleanor Whitmore herself. She anticipated your actions, Mr. Wade." He then proceeded to read excerpts, starting with the chilling line, "If you're reading this, then I'm gone." And Rowan is already doing what I knew he would do. As Mr. Sterling read Eleanor's words, detailing Rowan's fraudulent transfers, his fabrication of the fake urgency, and Myra's true ownership, Rowan's face drained of color. His jaw dropped, his smug expression replaced by a mask of raw panic. He tried to interrupt. "That's a lie, she was confused." But Mr. Sterling pressed on, unfurling a document. "This is a signed confession from you, Mr. Wade, dated March 14th, 2 years ago, admitting you created the fake urgency regarding the studio's permits, specifically to pressure Eleanor into transferring the property." Eleanor kept a copy. Gasps rippled through the hall. Aunt Carol, who had believed Rowan's lies, pressed a hand to her chest, her eyes wide with horror. "I can't believe it," she whispered. Rowan stammered. That was just a joke. A draft." He looked around, desperate, but no one met his gaze. His allies, the few elderly men who'd been listening intently, slowly distanced themselves, their faces etched with disgust. "Furthermore, Mr. Sterling continued, holding up another document. "This is the deed, legally transferring the fitness studio and the land parcel to Myra Whitmore 8 years ago, signed by Eleanor, witnessed, and properly filed. Your claim of ownership, Mr. Wade, is entirely baseless. The $310,000 asset, and all its contents, belongs to Myra." Rowan, trapped, finally self-destructed, his composure shattered. "She was just a foolish old woman. And Myra, she's just the help. Always has been. She doesn't deserve it. It was promised to me." His voice cracked, echoing through the now silent hall, the desperate confession a damning testament to his greed. I stepped forward then, my voice clear, steady, cutting through the stunned silence. "I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for truth. My Aunt Eleanor knew this day would come. These documents speak for themselves. Her wishes and her legacy will be honored." I didn't wait for an apology. Didn't gloat. I simply turned and walked out, Mr. Sterling following, leaving Rowan Wade to face the cold, undeniable judgment of the people he had tried to deceive. In the days and weeks that followed, the consequences for Rowan were swift and severe. The Everglades Senior Center immediately revoked his volunteer status and demanded the return of all donated equipment. Aunt Carol, ashamed and apologetic, cut all ties with him, as did the few remaining community members he had managed to manipulate. Mr. Sterling initiated legal proceedings to recover the $47,000 Rowan had siphoned from the Community Wellness Fund, and while he attempted to fight it, the evidence was irrefutable. He lost his reputation, his false standing in the community, and faced significant legal battles. I chose not to pursue personal charges. His public humiliation and financial ruin were more than enough. One quiet afternoon, I visited Eleanor's grave in the tranquil evergreen cemetery. The sun was setting, casting a soft golden glow over the headstones. I placed a single lemon poppy seed muffin, our special recipe, on her stone. "You were right, Auntie," I whispered, a quiet moment of gratitude washing over me. "I was meant to shine." 6 months later, spring had fully bloomed in Everglen. My apartment, now bathed in natural light, felt like a true home. The Paws and Polish grooming salon had expanded, Martha making me a junior partner. I still groomed dogs, but I also managed the books, applied for new licensing, and trained new staff, putting Eleanor's lessons to good use. On my desk, a small framed photo showed Eleanor and me, laughing, swinging on her old porch swing, a tiny silver locket visible around her neck. I'd renamed the studio, now fully restored and thriving, Eleanor's Bright Star Fitness, and had started a scholarship fund for aspiring young entrepreneurs in her honor. It was concrete, real change, built on truth and quiet resilience. If you're watching this, remember that silence isn't peace. Silence is often the price you pay for someone else's comfort or their deceit. Sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is simply stand in your truth, armed with patience and the unwavering knowledge that light always exposes darkness. It's late afternoon now, the sun casting long, warm shadows through my living room window. A gentle breeze stirs the sheer curtains, carrying the faint scent of blooming jasmine from the garden outside. I watch a lone bird land on a branch, chirping contentedly. The world outside, once a cold and hostile place, now feels like a haven, warm and welcoming, just like the scent of Eleanor's lemon poppy seed cake used to fill her home. My final thought, brief and simple, is that some lights, once dimmed, burn even brighter. If you've ever had to walk away from someone you love to protect yourself, type "I walked away" in the comments. Or if you chose to stay and fight for your boundaries, type "I stayed and fought." Both are brave, both are valid. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here.